So, I've been playing Horde recently, and being the friendless bastard that I am, I played online with randos, and I keep seeing this issue in just about every game I've played so far. No one actually seems how to know to play the game. So, in a feeble attempt to affect the community and make Horde significantly less frustrating, I'm going to be giving you the basics of Horde 3.0. To start, before you even load into the game, you have to pick a class. There are 5 classes: Engineer, Heavy, Scout, Sniper, and Soldier. Each class is designed to fill a role for their team and has their own skill cards to make their duties easier. Skill cards can be acquired from Horde packs and can be upgraded with scrap. You get scrap by destroying bounties, skills, and cosmetics you don't want. Though, you need to earn a card from a pack before you can upgrade it. Each class has a level, and that level will increase the more you play that class. The higher the level you are with the class, the more skill cards you can equip. We'll start with the class of the Engineer. As an Engineer, you spawn with an Enforcer, Gnasher, and Repair tool. Yes, you can kill people with it. The last weapon is really important because no other class spawns with a Repair tool, meaning it is your responsibility to repair fortifications. To repair, take out your Repair tool, point it at the fortification you want to repair, and pull the trigger. It'll cost you some power, but it's considerably cheaper than buying a new one. Engineers also receive a passive ability where they receive power during combat. Skill cards for the Engineer allow for cheaper fortifications, more efficient repair, and increased health for their fortifications. As an Engineer, it is your job to build fortifications, as well as repair and reload them. Your job can be one of the most important, as fortifications are such a massive part of Horde. However, no class is absolutely necessary, and the Engineer is no exception from this. The Engineer should be in the middle of their base, repairing and reloading as needed. Next we have the Heavy. The Heavy spawns with the Retro Lancer, Boomshot, and Bolt-Hawk pistol. Heavies get bonuses to explosives, turrets, and heavy weapons, or any weapon that you can carry that makes your character slower. Skill cards for Heavies make their explosives, heavy weapons, and turrets do even more damage. There's also a card that makes any target that is marked receive extra damage, which can be devastating in a team that communicates and focus fires together. The Heavy's job is to utilize their extra damage output for crowd control and to kill bosses. As a Heavy, you should target Scions, Protectrons, Pouncers, Sentinels, Guardians, and bosses. You can also use your explosive damage for crowd control. If you see some enemies bunched up together, use your Boomshot to blow them all away in one go. The Heavy should be towards the front line, but not in the middle of it all, ideally at the frontmost cover or on a turret. Now, on to the Scout, my favorite class. The Scout spawns with a Retro Lancer, Gnasher, and a Snub pistol. Scout earns double power during a wave, so it's important to focus less on killing and more on picking the power up. If your team is doing their job, you won't have to worry about killing very much anyways. As a Scout player, there's one thing I have to stress here to anyone who doesn't play Scout. Don't fucking touch my power, you're wasting it, you fucknut. The only time you can touch the power as a non-Scout is if you're 90% sure the Scout doesn't have enough time to get it before it disappears. But Mobius, Scouts don't get double power once the wave ends. There's a skill card for the Scout that gives them extra power when depositing to the Fabricator, meaning you'd still be wasting power if you picked it up between waves. If you don't know whether or not a Scout has a skill equipped, just assume they do. The only time you can pick up power is when the next wave is just about to start and the Scout has missed it and won't be able to get it. Otherwise, you're unnecessarily wasting power. Skill cards for Scouts allow for easier power pickup, survivability, close range damage, and extra power. A Scout can also function as a medic due to their survivability. If anyone gets downed out in the open, you can get to them the easiest and fastest to revive them. As a non-Scout, you should try to leave one enemy alive at the end of the wave for as long as possible to ensure the Scout has plenty of time to pick up all the power. The Scout should be in the middle of the action and make sure to return to base at the end of every wave to deposit their power. Next is the Sniper, who spawns with a long shot, Marksa Mark I, and a Snub pistol. The Sniper has skill cards that let them mark more than one target and increase their damage output. As a Sniper, you should be marking targets and getting headshots, as well as protecting your teammates when they're vulnerable. You should focus the regular infantry, as they are the easiest to pick off and can be killed with just one bullet. If you have a cooperative team, you'd ideally be covering the Scout as they run around picking up power and making sure nothing stays alive long enough to kill them, or covering any other teammate who is out in the open. Perhaps if you need to revive someone, you can give covering fire so your teammate can revive them or pick up their tags. The Sniper should hang back at the base with the Engineer. The Soldier spawns with the Lancer, Gnasher, Snub pistol, and 2 grenades. Soldiers get skill cards that allow for extra damage output and survivability. The Soldier's role is to kill and protect. The soldier can give the most covering fire to those who need it and otherwise simply kill. The soldier should be at the frontmost cover with the heavy, cleaning up what they miss, making sure nothing can get close to the sniper or engineer, or giving covering fire to the scout. Now that we're past the classes and skills, we can get to the actual game. When you spawn, you have to pick up the fabricator and move it to a defensible position. Good positions to defend from typically have a lot of cover and few entrances. When you kill an enemy, they drop power. Ideally, the scout should be picking up all the power dropped in a wave. Power can be used to build, repair, reload, and upgrade fortifications. Power can also be used to buy weapons. However, if you're relying on fortifications, then buying weapons is typically a waste of power. Power can also be used on skills. For instance, there is a skill that allows you to revive all teammates that are downed or dead, but it costs power to use. Regularly, power can be used to revive dead teammates if you pick up their cog tags and bring them back to the fabricator. The first revive is free, though each revive after that will cost power. The fabricator can be upgraded by simply spending power. The first upgrade will be achieved after 30,000 power spent, the second after 90,000, and the third after 120,000. Once you have upgraded the fabricator, you can upgrade any fortifications you have by picking them up and pressing X. Upgrading the fortifications is worth the power spent as it increases their health and damage output. Now we're going to go through your arsenal of fortifications. First we have the barrier, which is the cheapest fortification and is great at setting a perimeter around your base. Barriers damage and slow any enemies that walk into them, meaning any enemy trying to get into your base can easily be mowed down. Next we have the decoy. The decoy distracts your enemies and should be placed in front of turrets to lure enemies into a trap. Lower level engineers might find that decoys are easily destroyed and not worth the power, though they can still find value out of easily destroyed decoys. On the boss waves, decoys can be used to keep the boss from destroying your other fortifications. The next fortification is the MG Sentry. It is useful at killing enemies at close range, though it runs out of ammo quickly. If you're worried about its cost effectiveness, then you can place it behind a wall in your base so that ammo is only used when an enemy gets inside your base and it is absolutely necessary to use. They combo well with decoys, as the decoy can bring enemies into close range without putting the sentry in danger. The counterpart to the sentry is the shock turret. While the shock turret is not as good at outright killing, it has longer range. The shock turret is good at slowing enemies and damaging from a distance. They should be aimed down choke points like hallways and doorways. They combo well with barriers, as barriers only slow enemies down even more, giving the shock turrets extra time to finish off the enemies. Next we have the manned turret, which can shoot anything in front of it and can turn 180 degrees left to right. Turrets do a lot of damage, and they're great at killing bosses and destroying crowds of enemies. They should be placed where they have good sightlines or good cover, ideally both. The manned turret should be used by the heavy. The turret also combos well with decoys. Lastly, we have the weapon locker, which can store any weapon you choose until it is either destroyed or taken from storage. Heavy weapons and explosive weapons should be stored in weapon lockers and saved for boss rounds or clutch moments. Ideally, these weapons should be used by the heavy. Occasionally during a wave, you will receive a challenge. Typically, these challenges are things your teammates are already doing and should be easy. Upon completing a challenge, you will receive 2 supply drops and some power. Supply drops contain heavy weapons and should be saved for boss waves or clutch moments, much like the weapon locker. If you open a supply drop and not everyone is ready to use the weapons inside, it is possible for the weapons to despawn at the start of the next wave, so make sure you don't waste any of them. I have a few last comments on things I keep seeing popping up. If you have power at the end of the wave, make sure you deposit it, no matter how small. Avoid executions if you don't want to pick up power on accident. You can use the TACCOM to see how much power everyone has, as well as fortification health. If you notice a fortification getting low in health, tell your engineer. Remind people to dump their power as well. Although the spawns on maps may seem very appealing for a base, almost none of them have adequate cover, which can leave everyone very vulnerable in the later waves. If you're a lower level engineer and your fortifications break easy, it may be wise to get everyone to leave the base on boss waves so your fortifications don't get destroyed. I've had a few instances myself where a snatcher or carrier will just walk into my base and stomp on all my shit and then leave. But that should be all the basics. I hope you learned something, or you can share this so someone else can learn how to play Horde properly. Oh, and one last thing. Quit fucking leaving early.